Welcome back to Becoming a Published Author is Fun. And if you don't understand that title, then check out episode 8. We are currently in episode 34. And we're looking at your skill set. We've been looking at a lot of things lately as to what can be as an author and what can be offered you, what you might need, things of this nature. But I want to dig down a little bit and have you dig down a little bit and look at yourself, your skill set. Or to put it a different way, what do you bring to the table? We all bring something to the table when we're trying to become a writer, an author. And so what that involves, it can be very, very general. And if that's that general, you may have a very rough way to go because you have no knowledge of where you've been, what you got, and therefore you can't have a knowledge of where you want to be, what you want to accomplish. It's just like in sales. The story that I heard was a man asked a relative of his how his business was going. He says, "Oh, it's going good." Well, and he says, "What did you do last year in your business?" "I don't know." "What was your gross?" "I don't know." Well, how can you project the future of the growth of your company if you don't even know where you've been or where you're at now? It's the same thing with writing. You have to have some kind of knowledge. You may not have a whole lot of. You may never have written a book at all, so you got zero experience. Well, don't be ashamed of that. That is that brings you into an awareness of what your skill set is, or what you need to learn. For instance, here at TNR Independent Books, we offer a course on writing. We also offer a course, not a course, but a service to publish and market your books. The course on writing includes the publishing and marketing. So it comes down to, do you need to learn how to write, or do you already know how to write? And so the choices you have in front of you, you need to have a background, a supporting background as to why you're going to make this particular choice. So we're going to look at that. And one of the first things I talk about here is you like to tell stories. Now, I know different people who love to tell stories. And it depends upon how many stories they have in their mind. Some of them start to repeat if they don't have a lot. And I have one friend in which I've told him, I said, pretty soon I'm going to be able to tell those stories for him. Because he's got some good stories, but they're only a handful rather than a lot. But the thing is, he loves to tell a story. He's got an imagination. Do you have a good imagination? Now me, I think I have a great imagination. It may be, you might choose a different word for it, or God might even choose a different word for it, because sometimes that imagination gets me into trouble. I might imagine things are happening that are not happening. I might imagine things that God wants me to do that He's not wanting me to do at all. And so but do you have an imagination? Can you picture things in your mind of a story? In other words, you like to tell stories. Can you imagine it playing out in your mind? As a child, I would watch TV shows and things of that nature, and then I would go and I would substitute myself for the hero. I was always the hero, never the villain. I would be the hero, and I would tell that same story, but with a little twist here and there. It was different. And for one thing, like I said, I was the hero rather than the one that they had in the story. But I could feed off of that. The story that I saw or read, I can feed off of that and create a story of my own. Now I'm over 80 now, and so the thing is that I have a lot of information I've gathered over a lifetime, so I can really tell some good stories. Whether they would ever sell or not might be a different story itself. But I have an imagination that I can create scenes, I can create characters and so forth and fill them in. Do you have that kind of imagination? How about good grammar? How's your grammar? Now, this is something you can learn, but you might already have a good, solid grasp of what is good grammar. Now, you might need a little coaching here and there, but you don't really need to take a course in how to do it. That's something you need to know. Spelling. Well, for one thing, do you know how to use a dictionary? If you know how to use a dictionary, then you got a good grasp of spelling, to at least to some extent. But if you have to do it a lot, then your grasp isn't as good as you think. So, how is your spelling? These are things you need to ask yourself. Well, how about this? Your genre. Well, first of all, what is a genre? What I tell people is it's very similar, not exact, but it's very similar to a category. It's a little easier to understand when you think of it that way. Your genre can be historical fiction. It can be science fiction. It can be romance. It can be adventure. It can be actually more than one. In my books, I have historical fiction. I would also say it's got romance. It's got adventure in it. So different genres. That's why that S is there. It's so that because there's different genres, and chances are your book will have more than one. Why is that important? Well, when you get around to marketing your book, that will be important for you as to how you market your book, the genre that you want. How about this one? Have an avatar. Well, what is an avatar? It's a fictional character representing the audience you want to reach. So the thing is, well, how do you determine that category? There are different ways of doing it. One is your sales, but you may not have sales. So there are other things, other ways of determining your avatar. That is something that you really want to focus on. It's very important, in fact. Now, I will tell you this. Having an avatar in which you aim at you're aiming your marketing at that avatar. Some people worry that if you go at that avatar, you're going to miss the people on either side that don't quite match that. That is incorrect. They have done studies on that, and what happens is when you zoom in on an avatar, it overflows. And so you're going to get people over here, and you're going to get people over here. People who don't quite match your avatar, but they do match a little bit of it, and they get that information and they think, oh, I like this. And they might gravitate towards it. Do you have a plot for your book? If you don't have a plot, then what I'd ask you is, going back further, do you have a concept? And if you don't have that or don't understand what that is, then maybe you need a course to teach you how to plot. A plot is not just your starting point. A plot is, think of a plot like an outline. And so you have, when you first start out, you may have a very, very general outline. But as you build your book, as you write your story out, that plot will expand, deepen, widen. And so it's what guides you throughout the whole thing. And as your story grows, and your plot will also enlarge, so as it encompasses that growth and points it towards the conclusion. Or like I said before, you think of it as an outline. At the beginning of the outline, you have a very broad brush. As your story develops, you start narrowing things down and filling that plot in, that outline in. And so you can actually see it growing, see where it's going to end up. Now, if you're writing a mystery, that also adds a few other details to it. But do you know your plot? Do you have characters in mind? when I first wrote my first book called Refuge: The Genesis Chronicles, my primary character that I was focused on was Noah. But the primary character of the book was a guy by the name of Jared, a fictional character, who I made as Noah's nephew. And so I told it in their interaction with one another as he watched Noah and as he himself developed as a character, he became a hero. You'd call him in modern times, you'd call him a tragic hero, but he became a hero of sorts, but he perished in the flood. So the thing is, do you have characters? I had some characters in mind. Well, then it comes down to this. How about building those characters? Well, I had to build Jared. I had to build him up as a child growing up and develop their different things that contributed to the way he looked at life, to the way he reacted to Noah, different things that he did that if I started here at the beginning of the book, by the end of the book, you're seeing all these things develop, come to a conclusion in his life. And so I had to build him. He wasn't the only character I had to build. I had to build some others. Do you know how to build a character? Well, we'll get into that in a course, and you may need that. Finally, we got all this stuff, and you've gone and you've checked your boxes. Do you have confidence that you are ready? Now, here's a thought. You could check every one of these boxes and still not be confident. You might say, well, how is that possible? Simply because you don't have, you say you've got good imagination, but you may not have confidence in that imagination. You're good at spelling, but you may not have confidence in that. You have a plot, but you're not confident in how that plot's going to develop. So although you might check the boxes that you have knowledge or skill in that, it may not be to the level that gives you the confidence to go forward. And so if you lack confidence, then you need to learn how to write. Now, we offer a course. It's called Basic Authors Training, BAT. And it takes you from the beginning. It assumes you know nothing. You may know a lot, but it assumes you know nothing. And it helps you to, we use a two-tiered method. We teach you and we coach you. You get one-on-one coaching. And so what happens is, actually you're getting one-on-one coaching and one-on-one teaching. And what happens is, as we teach you, you learn different things, such as what we're talking about here. At the same time, you're writing your book. And some of these things might come directly into the book at the same time, but they might not come into the book until later on. And you're down here at the teaching, and now you say, oh, I know that. You may end up going back and re-editing or editing the book that you've been writing. The reason that we use this method is because you get to start writing your story using that imagination. And you don't get bored. It's very easy to get bored with study and learning and teach and being taught. You're actually going, and you're going to find yourself applying these truths even before the teacher, which would be me, might say to you, now it's time to do it. And I'll know that because I'm also your coach, so I'll know when you are ready to have what's being taught applied. And so that will vary by student as to when the teaching applies. And you will get skill developing and editing and re-editing different parts of your story. That is something that's important in itself. And so if you find that you don't have the confidence to do these things, then you need a writing course. And I would recommend Basic Authors Training. But you might check all these out and say, yes, I am ready. I know I can do this. Well, then you don't need the course. And if you don't need the course, then you go to ministry publishing. Well, how do you do that? Well, if you're a Christian, and which, by the way, you want to be a Christian to take BAT as well. But if you're a Christian and you are active in your church in any shape, manner, or form, I don't care if you're pushing a broom, you're singing in the choir, you're mowing the lawn, you're an usher, working in the office, maybe you're a missionary, maybe you're an evangelist, whatever you happen to be, or doing for the Lord, that's a ministry. That's working in the local church. And so if you qualify. Now, ministry publishing is simply that. It's a those of you who are in the ministry in one shape or other can get your book published, and we provide marketing help. The same marketing help we provide in BAT, which includes a place in our store, and also it includes I have a blog called Ron's Blog. I also have posts, which I do almost on a daily basis. And so you would get some help there. You'd also get some tools that are free. Right now, all the tools are free at the time of this video is being made. But there might come a day which I'll have to pay a substantial amount of money for. And then I will have to have you pay a small portion of that. That does not exist right now. Everything I'm offering right now is free. So that is what you need to do. Examine your skill set so that you have a knowledge of where you are at. And now you can determine what you need and where you're going to go from here. That's today's episode, and I will see you in the next episode.